I am Professor Henry Buisa, a professor of entrepreneurship at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture, which is situated between Nairobi and Thika. Being at University of Agriculture and Technology, its theme is definitely hidden in its name, agriculture and technology. Now, this is an agricultural activity. I'm in rural Kenya, specifically Lutoni, Kimilili, Bungoma. People here plant crops. What we are seeing here is soya beans. And now the process of producing soya beans, they have harvested, these farmers have harvested the soya beans from half an acre. This is soya beans from half an acre. And they now want to remove them from the pods so that it becomes grain. As you can see out there, that is like grain, where the gentleman at the further end is doing segregating the grain. These ones here are hitting the stems, the stalks, the buds, so that the grains are removed. Look, they have put it onto a PVC mat, so that when the grains come out of the pods, they are collected on the mat. But look, even where I am, I'm standing away, but as they hit that, they splash. There is waste. The beans are splitting, jumping, if you want, up to where I am. So there's a lot of waste. Now, this waste is what we call post-harvest waste in agriculture. So this farmer, who harvested quite a lot of the soya beans, in the process of threshing and removing the pods, he loses or she loses quite a number. And look at, they're using sticks. I will call it primitive technology, for lack of better word. They are using sticks to hit the buds so that they remove the grain. They use the same sticks to turn it so that they beat all the sides. Now this is the technology they are using. And the gentleman further away there is using simple hands to remove the dirt from the beans that have already been gotten out of these buds. Now, a University of Agriculture and Technology in a rural-based economy. Kenya is rural agricultural-based economy. And I am a professor of entrepreneurship. I teach technology and innovation at the university. I teach my students in the classroom. I write things on the blackboard. I ask them to define the problem that the rural farmer faces, and they define it very well. I put them in groups to discuss solutions that we can offer to the problems that they have discussed. And we come up with a lot of theoretical solutions. But here we are. In this time, at this time of year, at this time in life, in development, we are still using primitive technology to do the agricultural activities. Our students have graduated with first-class honors, discussing, evaluating the problems, and not being able to solve this particular problem. And that is why I have moved away from giving my students any theoretical written exam. So this is for my students of technology and innovation. If you cannot come down to the village and look at these problems, then watch this video very carefully. My assignment for you is that come out with a technology that will improve the process of this farmer. A technology, an innovation. I'm not going to ask you questions like define technology. I'm not going to ask you questions like discuss the problems of rural farmers. I'm not going to give you a case study, what I would call a dead case study, and tell you to evaluate what is in that case study. I'm not going to do that. I want you to come, this is a problem, define this problem in your groups, come up with a concrete solution, and offer these farmers that concrete solution. Remember, when I ask you to define, to discuss, to evaluate, to explain, yes, you can recall what we did in class, and you can do that very well, but it will not solve the problem of these people. But if you pick this video, or you go out, come out here and watch them, and then define this problem. You have seen the wastage that is being experienced here. You have seen the labor intensity. Look at what they are doing. And therefore you now come up with a concrete solution, and we offer these farmers that solution. That is what I am looking for out of you. So I am saying, please, my students of technology innovation, my students of entrepreneurship, don't wait for Professor Wizard to set for you an examination, a written examination which will come and sit in a class and write solutions. No, you're going out to the real world. Look at that problem, design a solution for it, and offer that solution. You remember, when you go and look at the problem, you will define it. So you have already covered definition. In groups, you will discuss. So you will also have already discussed what would have discussed in class. You will mix with the actual farmer, and you will interview them, and you will get the, now that is what we call affective domain, because you will now be feeling the problem, and then you will be putting your hands on the problem to solve it. And any problem, any solution that comes will be real and not theoretical. And therefore, I am not going, don't expect from me any written examinations which you will answer right in black and white, send them to an external examiner, I mark and all that. No, forget. This is the problem. So I want to repeat, my students of entrepreneurship, my students of technology and innovation, here is a problem in rural Kenya, and this is an agricultural problem. We are at University of Agriculture and Technology. We know the value chain of agriculture. These are the first links in that value chain. We have to offer solutions to our farmers, and that is going to be your examinations, not any other way, not any written exams to be marked. Now, currently in Kenya, there is a lot of political discussion about development models. There is the bottom up and the trickle down. Let me now use this particular situation here to explain what should be meant by that bottom up. This is the bottom of the pyramid. These people are this rural bottom of the pyramid. They have problems. They are the first links in the agricultural value chain. And therefore, if we do not address this link, then up there, the top there will not have food to eat. Bottom up means addressing the problems of the masses. These are masses producing. Look, how many people are here? 3. This is production by the masses. These are micro enterprises. In this case, this is an enterprise on the farm, F-A-R-M. We also have micro enterprises in the farm, F-I-R-M. Now, when you talk of bottom of the pyramid, bottom up approach, you are saying we want to address the problems at this level. Now, there are institutions at this bottom, at the first chains in the agricultural value chain. Institutions like microfinance institutions like NGOs, institutions like cooperatives, self-help groups. All those institutions address the actual problems of these people. Microfinance, look at Bangladesh, Grameen Bank approach. It solved the problems at the grassroots. And therefore, anybody talking about bottom-up approach and missing out on the institutions that actually act, that actually implement that approach, is talking hot air. We must involve what I will call the BPI, not BBI, not Building Bridges Initiative, but basic production investments. We must invest in those institutions. And therefore, anybody talking about bottom up should be talking about empowering microfinance institutions, empowering, streamlining NGOs, empowering cooperatives, innovating cooperative practices, self-help groups. It is not getting a gadget, let's say a wheelbarrow, which itself is not a new gadget, and giving the people. It is like giving these people the wheelbarrows here to carry their beans. That is good, that is necessary, but it's not sufficient for a bottom-up approach. And therefore, if we want bottom-up approach, we must address, one, we must involve those institutions that are involved in basic production investments. And that's why I'm asking my students to come up with technologies that will improve this situation. And therefore, the bottom-up approach must involve all actors that make, modernize, improve the production at the bottom of the pyramid. I've said I'm from the university. That's like a top institution. And therefore, what am I saying? Criticizing the trickle-down approach or trying to say we avoid it is not the solution. Bottom up and the top down must work hand in hand. What do I say? What do I mean? Trickle down means having experts at the top making policies to bring them down for the bottom of the pyramid to implement. And in most cases, those experts at the top do not involve the people at the bottom. So it's not participatory. And that is why trickle down fails. Because we sit in offices high up there, we think for the people at the bottom of the pyramid, we set up projects that are not appropriate, that are not, they don't fit the bottom of the pyramid. So what happens, what should happen rather, is that the top comes down to the bottom, they do their needs analysis, they assess participatorily with the people, Like I have been talking with these people, they are saying if there was any better technology to do this, they will use less time and less energy. Now, having identified the problems at the bottom, then we go back to the top and we design policies that now address those problems, knowing that we have actually taken the word from the horses. But if we just have top people, politicians, thinking for the bottom, yes, that is bottom up, but it is hot here as far as I'm concerned, because much as you may want to talk about the problems at the bottom, if you have not involved them, if you have not involved the institutions at that level, then the bottom up approach will also be half-baked. So both bottom up and trickle down must work hand in hand. Look at this bottom. Look at these farmers. What are they producing? They are producing soybeans. These soybeans will be sold along the value chain, along the supply chain, and they will reach a factory out there that will make soya flour, mill it, and then the flour will come back. You can see that the top becomes a customer of the bottom. The bottom supplies the top, and therefore you cannot eliminate, you cannot separate the two. The best approach is to come up with strategies that effectively, efficiently, and productively link the two. We cannot overemphasize one at the expense of the other. And therefore, even us at the universities, we should not limit ourselves to the theories. We should not limit ourselves to the imported literature, how it is done in Japan, how it's done in Australia. No, we must come from the ivory tower if you want, and come down to the bottom. Get the problem at the bottom. Go back to the top. Offer solutions that are now going to address those problems. And that's why I'm asking my students, you are watching this video. This is going to be your lecture. You look at it. Form groups, don't come alone. Form groups, come out, interact with these people, go back, use our laboratories there, design a technology. We have the technology and design a technology that fits this environment, that solves this problem. That becomes your examination. That is what I will mark, and I will therefore know that you have married bottom up and trickle down. We have used the expertise at the top to design solutions to the bottom, but the solutions which were actually gotten from the bottom. So, bottom up, top down, these are strategies that should work hand in hand. They should complement each other. So my strong opinion that the bottom up camp, which is avoiding the trickle down, is dead wrong. The trickle down approach, which focuses only at the top, is also dead wrong. There must be new strategies. How can we modernize the rural economy? We can modernize the rural economy using the top. The top comes up with solutions appropriately addressing the bottom, and that will be a more appropriate economic model than selecting only one. It must be a hybrid. Back to my students. I'm telling you, my students, you're watching this, do not expect a written examination from Professor Buisa. Come up with a solution to this bottom of the pyramid. Design solutions. This is just an example. There are many other examples, problems of micro enterprises, problems of rural production. That is what will make entrepreneurship. Of course, there is entrepreneurship in the large enterprises, but that is not called entrepreneurship. It's intrapreneurship. I'm talking of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship focuses on starting small and growing. And when you are working in an already existing industry, you are an intrapreneur. You are not an entrepreneur. And that's why I am focusing particularly on this bottom of the pyramid, because this is where entrepreneurship proper takes place. There is intrapreneurship at the top also. So, bottom up, trickle down, those are two sides of the same coin.